Hey, everybody.
Welcome back to our podcast where we agree
To disagree.
on everything under the sun. For those of you that are new, this is our podcast, Agree to Disagree with Mykayla and Jonas, where we bring up topics and we actually lately we've been agreeing. Well, we agree or disagree or agree to disagree on them. And today's topic is a pretty fun one. It's kind of a controversial one lately. What is it?
Going to college.
Michaela wore, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, Michaela wore her U of U shirt. I was going to wear one of my BYU shirts, then I realized I don't have any.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
And then I realized I have a BYU hoodie, but it's at my mom's house.
And it's a little small.
It's a little small. So I don't really have a whole lot of school spirit. Sorry, everybody.
I just happened to be wearing this t-shirt. We came home from church today, and I just threw it on, and I was like, wow, what are the odds?
We came home from church today, you threw it on, and then took a 4-hour nap.
I did.
We have in our calendar to record this podcast every Sunday at 1, and it's 5 o'clock right now because Michaela's been sleeping.
I don't know. It just hit me. I was really tired.
And we didn't even go to bed late last night. We went to bed at a normal time because I was tired from skiing.
Well, agree to disagree.
All right. So we're talking about going to college, getting a degree. We've kind of had different experiences with that. So
You can start.
you want me to start? Okay, where did I go to college? So I went and technically am still going to BYU. This is the hardest question because everyone's always like, yeah, where'd you go to college? What'd you major in? And I have to be like, yeah, technically I'm still enrolled. I have like 4 classes left and then I'm done.
Let's just say it's my fault. He couldn't go back to school.
I just haven't done it. But
he had to help keep me motivated to keep going.
yeah, so I'm at BYU, Brigham Young University. I started at BYU in 2017. So it was like 6 years ago now. Jeez. And I thought I was actually going to graduate pretty fast because in high school, I took a bunch of AP classes, and so I got college credit for that. And then I speak Spanish fluently, and so my first year at BYU, I took a Spanish class, and I was able to test out of like the rest of the Spanish curriculum, and I got something like 12 credits for that. So that was killer. So between testing out of Spanish and all the credits I got from high school, I was on track to graduate like a year early. But then, as what's happened with most people, I had a degree in mind. It was accounting because BYU has one of the best accounting programs in the country, and so that, made sense. And then I took one accounting class and I realized I hated it. So my backup was finance. Took a finance class and I didn't really like it that much either. So my plan C was economics. Took an economics class and I kind of liked it, but not really. And I didn't really want to, have a career in it. So I was kind of out of luck. I took a marketing class and I really liked it, and I took entrepreneurship classes and I really liked those. But at this point I was just kind of struggling, didn't really know what I wanted to do. So that was my first year of college. And then the second year I kind of leaned more towards marketing and entrepreneurship. And after my second year of college, I got a job at Vivint, which is where I ended up working for 3 years. And it was after that summer we got married and moved to Arizona. So I did 2 years of college at BYU. We got married, moved to Arizona. While I was there, I did a few classes online, but I wasn't like in a rush to graduate, because again, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, didn't know what I wanted to study. I had a good job at Vivint. I had a good thing going. I was growing a team.
Let's go back to the beginning. Let's tell them your real plans when you came home from your mission.
My real plans? Okay. We're going to rewind even further. So I think I've probably already mentioned this on the podcast, but I had like my life planned out before I started. So by the time I finished being a missionary and came home, right before I started, I like mapped out my whole life, because missionaries are pretty goal oriented and I kind of am anyways. And so I was going to graduate from BYU in 3 years with a major in accounting. I was going to go to Stanford, get my MBA. My mom went to Stanford and I grew up in the Bay, so pretty close. So that was just always a plan of mine. I was going to get my MBA, and then from there I was going to do something in business and end up, I wanted to start my own business, which still is a goal of mine. And then I wanted to get married like after all that.
So what, when you're like 40?
I was like, plan was like 30. So yeah, so my life plan's kind of, flipped upside
I
down.
changed his whole life.
Yeah, I mean, it was partly you, but it was also partly like I didn't really love school, didn't like accounting after that one class. So anyways, going back to we get married, I was totally fine taking a break from school because I didn't really know what I wanted to do anyways, didn't know what I wanted to study. I figured I should keep taking some classes online just to keep chipping away. And so I took a few classes here and there, like one or two a semester, right? Nothing major. And then meanwhile, like our YouTube was growing. I was having a lot of fun running that. I was kind of Michaela's agent for a little bit, pretty much until we moved to Utah, honestly. So I was helping Michaela get deals. That was lots of fun. And so I was kind of loving the things we're doing on the side. And I was growing a team at Vivint, and, I was having fun doing that. So, I wasn't like hurting for a degree, didn't really need school. But then after the Olympics, we moved back here to Utah because Michaela wanted to finish her degree because she only had a year left. And so I figured, I'm like, okay, like I might as well. And I don't know what happened, but at the time I thought I only had a year left. Remember that? I'm like, oh yeah, I only have a year left, like we'll finish at the same time. And so we moved back to Utah in August, I think.
I can't remember.
Sometime over the summer. It was kind of a long process. But anyways, I started school. You didn't start that first semester because you had tour. But I started school, and it was awful. Like, because I had taken so much time off school, going back into it. There were some classes I really liked, mostly the entrepreneurship classes and marketing. You kind of see a theme here. But there were so many classes that I had to take because of gen ed requirements, and there was like this coding class that I had to take that was kind of cool at first because it was business analytics, and then it just got terrible and it was just all busy work and just sucked up a lot of my time. So
I do have to say, though, the one nice thing about being an athlete is that our academic advisors and everyone are like really invested in us to make sure we're doing all the right classes and all the things we need to do to graduate. And so I couldn't even imagine being like a regular student and having to like pick my classes all by myself. And like it's really nice because like they know what classes to take, not to take, which teachers are great, which classes are harder, so I kind of feel bad for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I figured it out. Like, it's not that hard, but yeah, I mean, you definitely got special treatment.
Yeah, but you haven't even gotten to the part yet where...
Okay. Oh yeah. I know why you're saying that now. Anyways, so I finished that first semester, and I'm like, man, like, whew, that was too bad. Good thing I only have one more left. And I don't even remember when I realized. So you started, and then I started my next semester, and I go into it thinking, hey, this is my last semester. And it was like a few weeks in. I don't know what, maybe, but I'm like, yeah, maybe I should fact check myself on that. And so I log in, and like I look at like the major, because at this point I'd chosen entrepreneurship major, and I make sure I'm like, yep, all my gen eds are done. And then I look at my major like requirements and stuff, and there was like a few classes that was new, like was not there the last time I checked. But granted, the last time I checked was probably like a year before, and it ended up like I would have had to do. It was like one or two more semesters maybe, so like way more school than I thought that I had left. And when I found that out, remember I almost just dropped out. I was like halfway through the semester, so this was a year ago almost, and I thought it was my last semester. I find out that I have one, maybe two more left, and I'm like, I'm done. Because at this point too, I'd gotten a new job, and that was going really well, and I had other job offers before that. When I was leaving Vivint, and so it's like no one really cared so I do sales, and when you're in sales, no one really cares if you have a degree. They just care if you can sell and work hard, and if you can grow a team, and if you can recruit and manage, and if you can do all that, which I can. And so no one, I had offers, and no one really cared if I went to school or not. So motivation is getting lower, but I'm not a quitter. And so I'm like, hey, I'll finish this semester out, and then I'll just go from there. So I finished the semester, and towards the end of the semester, one of my buddies told me I should look into there's a general studies program at BYU, which is meant for students that like leave, kind of like me, that leave and start their careers but still need to finish, and so it's all online. And so I switched to that, I had enough classes at that point to get my minor in entrepreneurship. So currently I have my minor in entrepreneurship. My major is just going to be business, just general business. And I only have a few classes left because I switched programs and it's all online. And that's kind of where I left off because I've just been working ever since. And I got a new job like a few weeks ago, and that's been awesome. And it's been lots of fun. And yeah, so I'm in a tough spot where I'm so close. This time I really do only have one semester left, and it's an easy semester. It's all online, and it's not even like a semester because it's independent study, so it's at my own pace. So I just sign up for the classes, and I have a whole year to finish them, but they're intended to, only take a semester. So I just need to do it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm this
you still need
close.
to do it.
I'm this close. I put all this time and money into school, and it's good to have a degree. I mean, we'll get into this a little bit later. I'm not like the biggest fan, but in my situation,
You just need to do it because
I know,
I graduate in the spring, so then we can really graduate at the same time.
Yeah, Michaela just wants us to take cute graduation pictures. That's all you really care about.
Yeah, it's cute.
So that's kind of
all the things we've been through,
That's true. So that's my college story. So still in college, I have just a little bit left. I can pretty much graduate whenever I want. I need to do it. I'll probably do it this year. I'm going to wait for things to settle down because I just started this new job and it's a startup and things are crazy. I'm going to wait for things to settle down, but also I don't want to do it over the summer because summer's like the fun time to do stuff. So maybe I'll just do it fall or
Seriously?
winter. I don't know. But
anyway, did your parents go to college? Did they graduate?
Yeah, so both my parents were English majors and they both went to law school. And they're actually super supportive because I've been, up and down with college this whole time. And a lot of my friends' parents are like, no, you need to get a degree, or you need to do this. And my parents have been super supportive. They said, just do what makes you happy, just be successful, work hard. And I've been fine. So they've never once pressured me. They agree with me, I should finish because I'm this close. But yeah, they've been pretty good. And then my one sister graduated from BYU, and she's at medical school. My younger sister is also going to BYU. My younger brother was at the U and left to go to cosmetology school.
To be a barber?
And now he's a barber. Yeah, so I'm like going to be the last one to graduate technically, if you count cosmetology school.
Oh, Maddie's still in school.
Well, she's already graduated. She's in med school.
Still.
So I actually only applied to one school, to BYU. I know you're supposed to apply to a lot, but I don't know. I was pretty confident I'd get in because I got a 35 in my ACT and I had pretty good grades in high school. So I don't know. I just figured I'm like, there's no way that they don't let me in. So I just applied to one school and I got in. But I know it's probably good practice to do more. So let's hear your college story, Michaela.
No.
You've been planning on college. I mean, because you verbally committed to the U when you were what, like 12?
I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Which obviously during the time you could do that. Obviously, kind of throughout the years, they have changed the ruling of verbal committing and all the things. But I don't know, kind of wild. So obviously I go to the University of Utah. That was like my dream school, and the reason I chose Utah was because when I was 6 and 7, we lived in Utah for 2 years because my dad's job got transferred here from Arizona, and then after 2 years he got transferred back to Arizona. But I loved going to the University of Utah meets. We'd go all the time to watch the Red Rocks, and it was just kind of like my dream school, which is weird because like I never had really checked out any other schools much, and so it's kind of weird to just sit on one school. And then obviously I kind of started doing elite gymnastics when I was 12, 13, and I think since like the age of 13 when I went to Desert Lights, when Greg Marston was the head coach and Tom was the assistant coach, they came and were watching me and had their eye on me and wanted me so bad, and they would just come in all the time and they just kept their interest in me, and it just like made me feel really good that a college wanted me that bad being that young, because a lot of times in gymnastics, gymnasts can be really good when they're young and then they get older and kind of fall apart, or it's vice versa. So you just never really know what's going to happen. So anyway, I verbally committed my freshman year of high school, and what happened? I went to Stanford to go do an unofficial visit, and they offered me a full ride scholarship, and I had full ride scholarships from a lot of other schools, but the only other one I visited was Stanford.
Why'd you visit Stanford?
Because we were there for Olympic trials in 2012 because it was in San Jose. So my mom's like, let's go check Stanford. You know, we're here. So I was like, okay. And of course, you had to have really good grades and all these things. And I was like, this is not for me. I'm like, school, yeah, no. So I'm not going to be able to get in here anyway. I mean, I'm sure they'd try to make it happen. But anyway, so yeah, Utah was just my choice. That's where I wanted to go. And it was close to home. And with being members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I was like, the church is here and I have friends here and family here. So, and it's not that far from home. So it's like, I feel like I'm home. And I just loved it. I fell in love with the campus and all the things that we have being athletes there. I just really, really liked it and knew that's where I wanted to go. So pretty crazy. I'm sure a lot of you guys know I went to school right after the 2016 Olympics. I didn't really know if I ever really wanted to go to college, even when Tom would come out and do like unofficial visits and check in on me and come to our house, meet with my mom and dad. He'd always ask me questions like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do when you go to school? And I'm like, I just want to be a mom. I don't really want to go to school. That's my only thing. Like, I don't like doing homework, school. I struggle with school. I've kind of talked before. I have a learning disability. And I was born dead when I was born, and my mom was rushed into C-section, and I was born a month early, and she almost died. I was dead, and they revived me, and then they were going to close my mom up, and then the doctor felt not to close her up yet because she was bleeding inside. So anyway, they stopped that, and everything was all good. We're here. We made it, but they don't know if maybe that caused me to struggle in school a little bit. Obviously, I just have a hard time with memorization and like studying. I just take a really long time studying. Even reading's a little difficult for me, but mostly just memorization's really, really hard.
You know, you're really good at though.
You're staring at me.
Well, because you know what I'm gonna say.
What?
You have like a photographic memory for clothes and outfits. Michaela will tell me like exactly what I wore.
Like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago to the day. Ago. I can't remember what I wore yesterday. But
you wore your ski outfit, your Nike pants,
That's true, yeah.
Your, what's the brand that we make the merch with?
Fanjoy.
You wore your Fanjoy crew
my
neck.
Fanjoy shirt, that's right. But like we'll be going to church, and Michaela's like, you wore that tie 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, what? So you do have some memory skills tucked in there.
Yeah, I must just really like clothes, so that comes easy to me. School's just really hard, and like my vocabulary, like Jonas's family uses really big words, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means, and like I don't even know how to use that word. Like my vocabulary is like 3rd grade. So obviously in my family we do like some of my nieces and nephews and my sister Chelsea's dyslexic, so like there's definitely things that run in the family, so that could be part of it too. But anyway, I can't remember if I was on an IEP in high school or not. We like pushed for it so I could get extra help, just like where you get extra help and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And different things. And like my teacher, like if I didn't do good on a test the first time, also I was doing gymnastics 7 hours a day. I didn't have a lot of time to work on school, so that made it even harder because I was too tired and I didn't have the time to like study and memorize, and I already struggled with memorization, so it was just really hard when we were traveling all the time. So my teachers were really flexible, and if I did like bad on a test, they would let me like take more time to study and then take it again, which is really nice. Most schools don't do that, and if I didn't, I probably would have failed high school. Like it was just hard, but my teachers were really understanding, and with being an athlete and training for the Olympics, they knew that I had a lot on my plate. So taking the ACT, I can't remember the first score I got on it, but it was not good. My mom was like, oh no. She's like, I don't think you're going to make it into college, because I think I got like a 13 my first time.
No, it wasn't that bad.
Yes.
No. I think
Yes,
your
but I
mom
also
said-
had never studied for it. I just went and like took a practice, or I think it was like a practice one. I just went and took it and I got like a 13. And I also can't sit there.
I thought it was like a 17.
No.
Are you sure? 'Cause I'm pretty sure that's what your mom said.
Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it was not good.
Okay, it was
No, because
20.
I think Tom said you at least need an 18.
Yeah, so
or
you
something.
got a 17 your first one.
Not my first one. I had to take it like 4 times.
Oh gosh. Okay, never mind. Keep going.
Yeah, I had to have a tutor. I had to I can't sit there that long because they make it so long. Like,
Didn't you fall asleep?
no.
Oh, I'm thinking of Ben. Never mind.
No.
Sorry.
I did not fall asleep, and then I started getting anxiety because I'm like, the time, and I'm slow, and I'm like sitting here and I'm like trying to figure it out, and I don't have time. You have to do all these sections, and it just like, I just couldn't. It was rough. Anyway, I was able to do it enough to where I could go to school, so that was good. Anyway, after the 2016 Olympics, like I knew I wanted to go to college, but like I knew I had a really hard time with school and doing homework, so I was really, really nervous. So I was like, do I go to college? Like, and I also kind of wanted to do hair school, and go to cosmetology school and do that whole thing. And I'm like, well, they don't have that in college, so that's kind of a bummer. And then like after the 2016 Olympics and how everything went, it was really hard. I was kind of like, I really want to go to college. Like, I don't know what it was, but I was just like, I want to go. I want to experience it. Like, Tom, said that I can have all the tutors and all the help, and they'd help me get through it. And my degree wasn't that hard. I just decided to do like sports broadcasting, so it was journalism. So I feel like the classes weren't too bad. And it was nice dating Jonas because he could help me a bit because he's so smart. So that was really good in some ways. Probably hated me half the time because I was so needy, but I got through it. What else?
So that was 3 years.
That was 3 years, and
then we left.
Yeah, and then my junior year, it was a really hard decision because I decided to go back and train for the 2020 Olympics, and I was really scared to tell Tom, like really scared, because Tom can be a little intimidating, and I was really nervous, and he was actually really supportive, and him and Megan and Carly were all super, super nice, and Robert, that was an assistant coach at the time, they were just really, really nice and supportive, and I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that, because, they recruited me to come and help the team and to have another successful year, and then it ended up being good anyway, because COVID, and then the seniors didn't even get a senior year to finish it, so if I would have stayed in college, I wouldn't have even gotten to finish my senior year, which would have been sucky, so I guess it all kind of worked out the way it was supposed to. It was meant to be, like I obviously was supposed to be an alternate in 2016 for that reason. Like I needed to go through these trials and experience the things that I did. So all in all, ended up being good. But that being said, I was only supposed to defer 1 year of college. And then because of COVID, it ended up being 2. So yeah, after taking completely 2 years off, like Jonas still at least took a couple classes, but I was like not even in it anymore. And then to go back to school, it was so hard. I was so
rough.
nervous. Like, I was like, I don't think I've ever been this nervous for school since like my freshman year of college, And I just like felt like I didn't know the ropes. I was by myself because like I wasn't an athlete anymore. I didn't have the drive to like keep me going. But, Tom still helped me, and he said, you get all the resources. You're still on scholarship. So if you need anything, just let me know and I'll help you any way possible. So that was really nice. And my classes were probably the most difficult out of all the 3 years. It was like I saved the hardest classes for the end, which I'm kind of glad I did, because my junior year I was supposed to take 2 of the classes that I ended up switching out of because we were going into season, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I literally will not be able to pass if I'm doing gym. And like, I don't know. It was just like, I don't know. It was meant to be. I think it all just kind of like played out perfectly, because then I wasn't in school and I had time.
I don't know about perfect. You had so many anxiety attacks.
Yes, but it was good that I wasn't doing gym. That's what I'm saying.
But
I don't know.
it was, especially the last semester, that was rough. Because
Yes.
your first semester was like kind of rough because you were getting back into it, but
it was nice
it
because
wasn't too bad. Ariel
I
helped
had
you with
to
your hard
take
class.
a law class, and it was so hard. And it was just like, it wasn't even like a real law class, but the professor made it like a real law class. And I was like, this is way over my head.
It was like communications and law or something.
Yeah. And it was nice because Jonas's sister took it at BYU. Obviously, it was still different, but she and both your parents were lawyers, so Ariel kind of knew a lot. And so she was able to like help me and teach me and get me through it because
That was helpful.
it was difficult, but that was like the only hard class that semester. And then last semester, like every single class was hard.
Yeah.
And I was like literally about to cry and quit, and there were so many times like I'm just gonna drop out, but I was so close and already like halfway through the semester, so I was like I have to keep going. And I think the worst part for me is my teachers like to call you out and make you do group stuff and talk about your assignments and stuff, and I'm like, why are we still doing this? Like, we're in college. I don't want to chat with my partner about homework because if I don't know something, then I get anxiety and I'm like, ugh, they're gonna think I'm stupid. Like my whole life I had the biggest fear of saying I have a disability because I feel like at least back in the time when I was in high school, like kids would make fun of you, and I was just really scared, and school was just really rough for me. And then I feel like I still kind of have those feelings because I'm afraid of being judged, but at the same time, like as I got to know people in my class and I kind of just said, hey, I have a disability, I struggle with school, like whatever, they were just like, like, oh, I struggle with this, and, other people have problems too. So, like, I kind of got, like, better with it throughout the end of the semester. And I feel like as soon as the end of semester hit, I was kind of like, man, why couldn't this be, like, the first day of school? Because I, feel like the whole semester just would have been better. Because of, being with my classmates and finally knowing them and stuff. Like, I feel like if I could have done that a lot sooner, it would have been a little bit better for me. But anyway, so if you have a learning disability, who cares what others think? I'm not perfect. My brain is not perfect, and that's okay. I still got through it. I got help. I graduated. I did it. I think college is important. Growing up, obviously, I just wanted to be a mom, and I always had the fear of school, so I just really, hated it, and I know a lot of people love it, but me personally, I just didn't always enjoy the school part, but, the friends, being an athlete, all the different things that come with it were really fun. I just didn't like doing the homework. And the other thing I hated about school and going back is I feel like because of COVID and they did a whole bunch of online classes because obviously school was shut down, I was like, oh, this might be good because when we moved back to Utah, we kind of live in the middle of Salt Lake and Provo because they're both at the opposite ends. And so we where are we going to live? So we literally in the middle. And I had to drive to school because all my classes were in person, and I was hoping because of COVID, classes should hopefully still be online. No, it was pretty much by the time I came back, everything was in person again.
And what was dumb, and this is one thing I hate, is all your professors took roll.
Yes, that's what I was getting to.
It's the dumbest. Oh, I'll let you get to it.
Oh, that's okay. You can chime in, but it was the majority of our grade was just attendance. If you miss more than 3 classes, you failed my class. And it was really scary because my one of my classes, I was nervous because I thought the teacher was really cool. He is really cool, but
oh no, I know who you're talking. He's not really cool. Is it the one that sent you that email?
Yeah, I was kind of offended, but he ended up being really nice the whole semester, and it was really great. But the first day I was like, oh, this teacher seems awesome, and I was going to email him, but I didn't have time. So I was going to email him the next day, but he beat me to it. I had to leave. The class was 3 hours, and it was my first day of class, and I had to leave early because I had this really big event that I already had RSVP'd to. And I know I could have just not gone, but it was a big networking thing, and it was really good for me to go to it. And anyway, so I was going to email him and just say sorry, I missed half a class. I, had this thing, but I'll be at every other class because attendance was really important in that class. And so anyway, he just sent me this really rude email just saying if you can't attend class, I'm going to, because I guess he's an advisor too. And he's you can talk to one of my advisors and come, or what did he say?
He's like, you should find another class to go to, basically, is what he said.
He's
like you should drop out if you're going to be leaving class early.
Yeah, and I was like, man, it's just the first day. And then through the whole semester, kids would not even show up to class. Half of them miss class all the time. And obviously they would tell the teacher and stuff. And I think you really have to have a good reason. But I was so paranoid after that, I never missed class the whole semester. And it was 3 hours. At least it was once a week. But whoa, I was so scared after that. And then the rest of the time. I think he just kind of did that so I wouldn't maybe walk all over him, or I don't know, maybe it just sounded ruder than it was meant to be. But he was really nice to me and was really supportive, and he knew I have like a disabilities form. I had to like retest when I got to college, so I was kind of like on an IEP again, and he was really understanding and super nice to me. So I don't know, that was a little terrifying, but yeah, attendance sucks. I'm like, what is wrong with this? Like, I remember like being an athlete, Tom, was like, school's important, you need to be in your classes. So like I would never like not go to class unless like I was throwing up or sick or something. But kind of when I was like not an athlete anymore, I'm like, oh, if I don't need to go to class, I mean, I don't want to tell Tom that because he's still paying for my school, but I was like, if I don't have to go to class, I won't go to class. But then the attendance was so big, I'm like, well, this kind of sucks, because when I was in school as an athlete, they didn't really care if you were in class, especially if it was like a big lecture hall, like they never took attendance, they didn't care. Like a lot of your stuff was just online through Canvas. So that was rough going back, having to be there every single day.
Yeah, so here's my problems with school. So now that we've shared our experiences.
Oh, wait. I just wanted to say I am the first one in my family to graduate from a big university. My brother did online college. My mom and dad never finished college. My mom went to London or England or something for a little bit.
I didn't know that.
And went to school, yeah, but she didn't finish. And then my dad dropped out, and my two sisters didn't go to school.
No way.
I think Chelsea even went to like a community college and didn't do it. She did like tried for a semester or something. I could be wrong.
So you're Chelsea, the first in your family. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really
and
cool.
I'm the one that has really bad problems.
You're the one that struggles the most. Yeah. Hey, good on you.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's cool.
Okay, so my problems with school, and this is part of the reason why I want to get a degree. One of the reasons is just so I can say, like, because I have a lot of problems with universities and public school system, how things are run, and I want to be able to say, hey, like, because it's easy for someone who didn't go to school to have problems with it or who dropped out. I want to be able to say, hey, I did the whole dang thing, and here's my problems. But it boils down to this, like, what's the point of school? It's to teach you stuff, right? Like, you're there to learn. But so much of grading is on dumb stuff like participation, like attendance,
or
assignments.
My classes where it's like comment, and then you need to comment on two of your classmates, and then like the classmates just say, oh, that was really interesting, cool that you found that, and it just is like such a waste of time. It's like, why do I need to do that?
Every single one of your classes last semester.
No one reads it.
Yeah, that was one of the
it's just like
assignments.
Lazy work. Like teachers are just like, oh,
Dude, yeah, like the majority of,
like, nobody wants to do
there's
that.
There's a lot of lazy work, there's a lot of busy work. But here's my thing. It's like grading should pretty much just be tests and exams.
No.
We're just going to agree to disagree. And let me finish.
Okay. It should just be on homework and knowing what you know and what you've done.
No, because that's not knowing what you know.
Unless
that's
you're
doing
like
stuff.
in med school or a really hard major, yes, then take tests.
Here's what I think.
But I cannot take tests.
I think your grade should be 100% based on quizzes, tests, exams, with the option to supplement it with like homework and assignments if you want to. Because here's the thing. If you know the material, you should not have to do the homework. You should not have to show up to class.
But the thing with tests is they gyp you and they'll word it completely different or say it different.
Well, that's a whole nother matter.
Or it's not even what I've learned, or I don't even remember that because it was like way from the beginning of the semester and my mind's like focusing on the now and not the then.
That's a whole other problem.
Yeah, see? Because you don't have a learning disability, so you don't understand what it's like for some of us that really struggle.
That's why I'm saying then you should be able to do homework. But like for me, like, so a good example of one positive thing from school, I was able to test out of Spanish because I took this super long test that basically showed I'm fluent in Spanish. I don't need to go to all these classes, so I just got all the credits for them. That's how it should be. Like there were other topics, like when I had to take math classes, like math is just pretty easy for me. I could have tested out, but you have to like participate and you have to do all these homework assignments and like it's just the worst. And so that's one of my biggest problems with it is it's like teachers think they're just there to keep you busy, and give you stuff to do.
I hate all the gen eds. Like, why do I need to take writing, English? Like, why do I need to take all those again when I just took those in college? I know sometimes in high school you can test out of those in high school. Like
you can't know.
I've had friends test
Well,
out of them.
not of all of them. I mean, the AP classes. So yeah, like I didn't have to
Yeah.
take like English.
I had to take everything. Remember math? Apparently, since I waited so long, I didn't take math like my freshman year of college. So my sophomore year, I had to take this class that was a non-credited
I
class.
remember that.
But it was, the teacher was awesome, and it was like it was through like the computer and stuff, and we like went all through the basics again, and I was like, wow, I actually kind of understand math. Then I just had to take one math class, and then I was like done with math. So I had to like take this non-credited class and then take math. But the math class I was in was word problems, and I can't do word problems. And I remember Jonas was trying to tutor me, and he would be so frustrated. He's like,
That
I
was
just
pretty
don't get
frustrating.
how you don't get it. And I'm like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm pretty sure I should have failed the class, but because our group project was with two friends that I met in that class, like we all worked on the group project, and I was really nice to the teacher and would go up to him and ask for help. And he, of course, I have a disabilities form that all the teachers get, so I think he knew that it was really hard for me, and I was like, I think he kind of just bumped up my grade so I would pass. Because I was like, I think I'm going to get a D, because I think Tom said I could pass with a D in this class, but then I think I ended up with like a C minus or something. So like I don't know, I should have gotten an F, honestly.
Yeah,
But
I think gen eds are, I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. Colleges and universities are a business. They make money from books and tuition, mostly tuition. If they require you to take more classes, they make more money. And so there's this whole gen ed thing that every single college and university, you have to take all these, arbitrary classes to keep you there longer. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan. I think trade schools make perfect sense.
I know. I'm like, why
Like
can't
my
there just
brother-
be schools for every degree you want to go in, and you just learn what you want to do? Like with sports
Yeah.
broadcasting, I never took one sports broadcasting class because
Yeah,
like
that was the other weird thing.
Utah doesn't really have that. So I took all these like investigating journalisms, digital journalism, radio journalism, which that one I liked, but it's just like nothing really taught me anything
Yeah.
to feel prepared.
Like,
And
if you
it's
want to
just
be a doctor or a
frustrating.
lawyer, I feel like you should just be able to skip straight to med school or law school.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my brother. He decided what he wanted to do. He went to cosmetology school, and he enjoyed it. That's the other thing is most people that go to trade schools enjoy it because they enjoy what they do. They're doing it, for a purpose. And college is really expensive. Student debt's a big problem.
So if you're an athlete, work really hard, get that scholarship.
Yeah, I'll say
Definitely makes it worth it.
that's
Yeah,
one
but you didn't
thing.
have to pay for school.
Okay, but so I had a what's it called? Not athletic scholarship. I had a
Trust fund, or what is it?
no, not that. I had a
had a
academic. I had an
scholarship.
academic scholarship.
Yeah.
But I didn't know this. It was so dumb. So it was full tuition academic scholarship, but then I had to be taking a certain number of credits, and like my second or third semester, I was like 0.5 below it, and I found out halfway through, and so I had to like add, like a one term class. It was a mess, and then I found out you have to keep a certain GPA, and it was like 3.85.
And Jonas goes
And
to
I-
college, and he just is like having fun. Like school isn't
I'm
hard
just-
for him, so he could just like BS it. But then
I'm like, I'm just trying to pass my classes, right? Like, A minuses are fine, but an A minus is still like a 3.7, I think.
oh,
So like my grades weren't bad, but I didn't get that 3.85 or 3.9 or whatever it was, and so I didn't get my scholarship after my first year. So that was kind of a bummer.
yeah, but I thought you didn't have to pay for college.
Yeah,
'cause
I mean,
your dad.
yeah. So I
didn't.
have a 529, which I just call it a trust fund with my friends because
Mm-hmm.
it makes more sense to them explaining it that way. But it's basically just a savings plan. My dad put money in it when I was born. It was invested. It grew. I can use it for school, higher education. Otherwise, we're taxed on the money. So that was as a shout out to my parents because the rest of my school was paid for from that. But I
was really
tried.
nice.
I tried paying for my school. So my first year, I told my dad, I'm like, I appreciate you doing that, but I want to pay my own way. So I got a job, worked really hard, and it was the worst because I did it. I was able to. I paid rent, paid tuition, paid for books, bought a car, did everything, but it was terrible because I had no free time and I was working all the time. And as soon as I would have some money in savings, tuition was due or rent was due. And then, I wanted to hang out with friends, but I either had to work or study. and it was just too much. And so
Yeah, so how'd you buy me dinner and stuff?
because I was working a lot.
Oh,
But
so
then,
cute.
but then it was after that. It was like, I think it was 1 or 2 semesters where I told my dad, I'm like, hey, can I tap into that now? Like, this is awful. So yeah, everyone that works through college, I get it. I did it for a little bit, and it just wasn't fun. And so I decided I valued social time more, and so I tapped into the fund to pay for my tuition and stuff. Still worked, but I didn't have to work as much, which was such a blessing because then I could, go to sporting events and go on dates, and hang out. Let's look at some research.
Let's do it.
Some stats. You want to give us the stats, Michaela?
Sure.
These are kind of crazy.
So in spring of 2022, almost 16 million students were enrolled in degree-granting colleges and universities in the U.S.
Keep going.
Okay. About 11.6 million students, or 73%, were enrolled in an associate or bachelor's program, and roughly 2.9 million, or 18%, were enrolled in graduate level program. As of 2022, as of 2022, as of 2020, 40% of all 18 to 24-year-olds were enrolled in a college or university. College student enrollment has generally declined over the past 10 years, which is crazy. So I thought this was kind of wild. So Alabama, Kentucky, Montana, and South Carolina were the only states that experienced enrollment increases between spring of 2021 and 2022, which obviously I kind of get because, COVID 2020. So that's cool that they, had an increase. But then with California, Hawaii, which is crazy, but I think they were shut down for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey and Pennsylvania experienced the steepest drops, dipping by more than 12%.
Yeah, it's crazy. So at my new job, we work a lot in the higher ed space with colleges and universities.
But I also feel like a lot of people just don't get degrees anymore.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Enrollment's going down across the board. Like college used to be like very recently, like within the last 5 to 10 years. College used to be like you have to go to college, you have to get a degree.
Yeah, you have to have a degree to get a job.
And it's just been lately, like honestly, like the last 5 years where it's kind of not going that way. I think a big part of it is social media. So many people making money on social media. A big part of it is just the internet. You can start a business and make money just with a laptop and an internet connection. There's a lot of things you can do. There's Fiverr now,
What's that?
It's where people can, you can get a job online doing stuff like graphic design or, different
or
like
even people
copywriting.
Doing like working through like with Target and Amazon. You just go and rate products and stuff and they get paid for it. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Like the girl that we have that does our thumbnails when we do YouTube videos, which it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Brianna, like, we didn't care if she went to college. We had a whole bunch of people that wanted to do our thumbnails. And so we had, some people send in examples and we just picked the ones we liked the most, thought that fit our channel the best, and so it's like, I think it's coming more and more that way. It's people don't really care what you went to school for. People care what you know and what you've done. I don't think that's a bad thing.
And it's even who you know.
Who you know too.
The connections.
Yeah, that's.
But I one thing I have learned, like I've said, like I think school to me has always just kind of been like I don't really care for it. I don't see the point of it. But like kind of going to school, I'm like, okay, I do see the point of it, especially depending on what you want to do. Like I feel like definitely for certain things you definitely need a degree. But I do think it is important because it's just like, what if one day social media isn't at a high anymore and all these kids didn't get their degree and then it's like, oh crap, like they can't get jobs or things change. So I think it's just always important to have because you just never know when shiz is going to hit the fan.
I'll agree there. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. But what I would say is a bad idea is going into a bunch of debt. If you don't know what you're going to do, or if your degree, you can't pay off the debt, if you don't know what you want to do, I would recommend trying to get internships or going to like a community college or somewhere cheap just to do your generals.
Yeah.
And to just take, I think that's the best route. If you don't know what you want to do, then I'd say maybe try some internships, try shadowing people in the field.
And one thing I really learned going back to school is my last couple classes that were like required for me to graduate, every time we had someone come in to talk to us, and they said the biggest thing that helps you get your connections and helps you, like how all of them got their jobs and have been so successful, was shadowing, internships. Like that was the reason they got where they went. I don't even think it mattered about the degree, but it was just about like what they learned and how good they were. It's like,
yeah, an internship, it's
crazy.
such a, like we tend to think of it as just for like students do internships, but anyone can do an internship, like if, I was a student at the time, but I was really interested in finance. So I got an internship at Northwestern Mutual, learned a lot, decided I didn't want to pursue that in a career, but like anyone could have done that. You just apply. I had a few interviews. Same thing with, I think sales is an awesome career path. If
you're good at it.
well, not even that. Like I wasn't good at it, but they taught me and I learned. If you can work hard, that's really the only thing. People think that you have to be outgoing. I'm mostly introverted. Like I don't really go out of my way to talk to people usually. I guess I have extroverted tendencies, but like growing up, I was pretty shy. I didn't really have a ton of friends. I wasn't very outgoing. Kind of changed as I've gotten older, but like I wouldn't be like the ideal salesman, but I took the job at Vivint and I learned and I worked really hard, and now I've dedicated myself to it and I've become really, really good at it just because, you can work hard, you can learn. And yeah, like most of my education has come from things like books or people or working on the job than like a school class. I haven't learned anything about sales in school. I've taken some marketing classes that are cool, but I've learned more about marketing in the last 2 weeks at my current job, than my entire time at school. So that's what, yeah, I mean, I would agree. Like it's good to have a degree. It's not good to go into a ton of debt for it. So try and do it as cheap as you can, because there's other people that, can't decide what their major is and they just stay in school forever, That sounds like
or they
literal
keep going
torture
back
for
and
me.
back and doing.
Yeah,
I don't even know. I'm like, how do you like it that much?
I would say like try and get it done as soon as possible. Just get into the field, like just start working, do something.
I also feel like just like mine's communications and journalism. So even just doing communications, there's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah.
So just get a degree, so you have one. Because a lot of times people get degrees and don't even pursue in what they got their degree in. They just end up doing something else and being really good at it, even though they went to school and got the degree. So they're like, yeah, I don't even use my degree, which is crazy to me.
So many people say that. So yeah, that's what I would say. And if you know what you want to do, like if there's a trade school for it, pursue that. You can learn to code at one of those developer boot camps in like a few months. And coding, that's a really valuable skill, especially now, where everything's going. So things like that, that's what I would recommend. So it doesn't surprise me that college enrollment's going down, and I don't think that should be seen as a bad thing. Unless there's people being irresponsible and, thinking that they can make money on TikTok for the rest of their life.
Right.
Like, it's good to have a base. It's good to have skills that are always going to be applicable. But, yeah.
I do think it's important, though. Like, if you want to do it, do it.
So do you want our kids to go to college?
Never really thought about that. I mean, if they want to.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am.
I just, like, if they don't want to, they shouldn't have to.
I want our kids to have a plan, and to like set themselves up for success. Right. So I don't want it to be like they graduate high school and are just like, yeah, I don't really want to go to college, but not do anything, you know?
I think it's cool for me, though, to like say I graduated so I can be that role model to my kids, to be like, I got a degree, you can do it too.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll say probably, I'd probably want my kids to go to college, but if, I don't know, like what if they want to be a pro athlete, and just not go to college? Like that's fine. What if they want to go to a trade school or do something else? What if one of them starts a business, So I don't think I'd pressure them. Question for you, Michaela. How did you deal with the party scene in college? And what advice would you give college students?
So, of course, I don't drink. So, like, for me, no, I did not get involved in the party scene. I went to, like, 3 parties, being a designated driver, and making sure that people would get back safely. But I only went to like 3, so that only ever happened to me like once or twice. And honestly, like, I get people always say, well, it's not as fun to go to a party if you're not drinking, but like, I still had fun. Like, I was just like, yeah, like, got to just be crazy, and I didn't have to drink to like enjoy it. I mean, sometimes after a while it gets kind of gross, and like people start throwing alcohol and it gets on you and it stinks, and I'm just like, I just feel really uncomfortable. So obviously not my scene. And it was hard because a lot of athletes do drink, and so it's hard because like my freshman year was just definitely the hardest for me, just trying to make that transition to fit in. And I just felt like I always maybe wasn't a part of things just because I wouldn't go to parties. But then I just kind of realized, well, that's okay. Like, I don't have to go to parties to like enjoy my college experience. So I just found friends like outside of that were just like me, you know, that didn't care to party, didn't care to do those things. So that was really nice. Jonas did come to one party with me. It was like an athlete party. And I don't know, it was a weird experience.
Yeah, it wasn't that fun. I don't know, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was weird. And then the cops came, so remember we like hid in something for a while. So my teammates and their boyfriends were like, oh my gosh, you know. And so I'm like, well, I ain't been drinking, so I'm good. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like for me, I think one reason I was able to be so successful as a college athlete was because I didn't party and I didn't distract myself with doing those things, because one, drinking just really isn't good for you, and a lot of girls get hangovers and, you know, go to practice and they're struggling, and it's just like I never had to deal with that. My body was healthy, it was strong, I was able to compete and just do my best, and I just never really understood the party scene, but if that's like what people do, they like it. So, but for me, I just never really had to deal with that problem because I was never doing it. So
one thing I will say, kind of on that topic, I mean, I've said a lot of bad things about college. One thing that I think is really good is it's a great social environment, and that's really healthy. Like if you're going to go to college, I'd recommend, like go all in, like join clubs, like meet new people, go to like when I say parties, like
don't join a frat because they'll make you drink too much and make you die.
Yeah, don't join a frat. But like the parties that I went to weren't like parties like most people think of. It was just like a whole bunch of people getting together, or a whole bunch of people like doing something fun, or like a bonfire up in the canyon.
But see, BYU is just so different. Like that's one experience.
I know, but I'm just saying, like in general.
No, I know, but I'm saying I wish I had that. Like at BYU, cool. I mean, there's a lot of, we have the institute there, and there's still a lot of people that are LDS that go to the U, but at the same time, like BYU, they just do like a lot more things that LDS people do, like kind of like growing up in high school and the bonfires and just doing fun things and being with groups and just like doing a lot of fun things. And it's kind of like with college, it's like, oh, all there is to do is, go drink.
I mean, I think the culture's pretty healthy, because it's like a lot of group dates, a lot of just like big hangouts, like, not a whole lot of like drugs or alcohol, or, not a lot of issues. I mean, every college has their own issues, right? BYU has plenty of its own, but like the social scene like was great. I lived with roommates. We had a whole lot of fun. I lived with different roommates, for different semesters, and, I met a ton of people. Each like apartment complex or community would have its own activities and stuff. So that's my one thing I would recommend is, go to activities, like meet people, join clubs. I was part of I wasn't crazy active in clubs, but technically I was part of the cryptocurrency club, and I went to the investment banking club a few times. One of my friends, I wasn't like an active member. I was in the group chat, and I knew like the president of the club. But
I definitely do have to say I wish I would have done more in school, but because school was so hard for me, I would just sit in my room and like do school, and I'd just kind of hibernate. And like I just was like scared to like. Yeah,
I would say don't be scared to make friends. Like I think
do
study
freshman
groups.
Year was the hardest, but I think by my junior year I was like, man, why couldn't this been my freshman year? Like I just wish I would have had more time like going out there and doing more, because I just did not do enough, and I was scared. And being a girl, I don't know, I was scared to like go out and do things, or I didn't want to like be tempted to do anything I didn't want to do or feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
a lot of athletes can be kind of, I don't even know where I'm going with this.
Well, what I was saying
Just
was like
scary.
we'd do study groups, and not the most effective way to study. It was more just to hang out with people in your class, get to know people. So I don't know, like wrapping this up, I would say like my biggest advice for kids going to college, I would say, apply to a few. Don't feel rushed. Like one of my best friends still hasn't started. He probably never will start. Probably
Who?
won't go to Chance.
Oh.
And he's killing it. He loves life. Went skiing with him the other day. He's on ski patrol. So like, don't feel pressured to go to college, but try and find out what you want to do. If you do go, I'd say try and do it as cheap as you can. If you can't get a scholarship, or if your parents aren't paying for it, then try to not go into too much debt. But try and figure out what you want to do soon. Graduate. If you don't need to graduate, you don't need to graduate. You can do something else. If you do go to school, have fun. Take advantage of it, especially the social aspect.
Take advantage of it for sure.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Miss doing that part.
So that's my advice. What advice do you have?
I don't know. It's kind of just pretty much what you said. I think going out there and just having fun with it. That's one thing I wish I would have done more, is just enjoyed the process instead of putting so much pressure on myself and not enjoying it as much. Obviously, I enjoyed the competing part and going out there and doing that whole thing as being an athlete.
And I would say, don't stress. There were multiple times, especially my freshman year, because I took way too many classes, because it was my first year of college, so I didn't really know what I was getting into. So I took a whole bunch of hard classes, just, I don't know. But like there were multiple times where I'd be doing homework or working on a project or something. One of my roommates would say, hey, like we're going up Provo Canyon, there's a bonfire, like people are hanging out, like do you want to come? And I had to make a choice. I'm like, I can do this assignment that's due tomorrow, be here by myself, or I can go. Can I finish? Can I finish?
Yeah, you can finish.
You just ruined the story.
Sorry.
Or I can go have a good time. Every single time I chose have a good time. And yeah, like my grades probably suffered because of it, but
C's get degrees.
Well, I didn't get C's. I got A's and B's.
Yeah, but I'm still saying though, like.
Yeah, I guess, C's do to get degrees.
As long as you can pass your classes and hang in there.
It's not ideal. But like the point is that I think that was the right choice. I didn't really stress too much about school. Or, because I usually get pretty good grades on tests. Usually I don't even have to study and I can just get a good grade. But I remember this one time distinctly, I got a C on my accounting test. It was an exam actually, so it was a big one. And I'm telling you, like I do really well on tests. So like I remember looking at it and I was shocked because it was probably the lowest score I've ever gotten on a test in my entire life. And I remember thinking, like I distinctly remember to this day, I remember thinking like, yeah, this probably won't really affect me. Like this has no, because, I had friends that would just get beaten up if they got a bad grade or whatnot. And I remember distinctly thinking like, yeah, this has no effect on my long-term success. And it didn't, I'm doing fine right now.
Except you'd complain because you'd get up at like 3 a.m. and do your homework.
Yeah, I was still I was diligent. I did my assignments when I could and stuff, and
but you also weren't an athlete, so you had a completely different
didn't try
life.
as
I
hard,
wouldn't be able to do that.
I ended up getting an A- in that class. I brought it back. So, yeah, that's college in a nutshell. I'm sure we could talk more about it.
Can I talk?
Oh, you have more?
Can I speak?
I asked. You said that was it.
Oh, it just made me feel horrible. Can I talk?
Well, because you were cutting me off. You ruined my story.
I was saying one little thing. I said you'd always go, but I didn't know you were really going into that, so sorry. But
that's all right. Well, do you have any other advice?
Not really.
Do you want to send us off with the assumption?
Yeah.
It's another funny one today. And it's on topic, too.
I know. It's perfect. Perfect. Okay, so in every episode, we always do an assumption. These have been sent in, again, through Instagram. I will probably post one here soon to get some more because we haven't done it in a while. But I will post an assumption post on my Instagram story, and people will send in their assumptions about us. So for today's assumption is Michaela has never been a school person. 100% correct. But Jonas is and has always loved school. 50-50. School is really
define
easy for him, but
school
he
person.
hasn't really loved it.
I don't really like school, but I can do it. It's easy.
He can do. Jonas is so smart, you guys. It's like when he says he got a 35, he got a 35, and a perfect score is a 36. So he isn't perfect, but he's perfect in my eyes.
I bet I could have if I had tried again.
Yeah, probably. He's just like really smart.
I didn't want to though, because that was my first time taking it. But one of my best friends at the time, he got a 34 his first time taking it. Took it 2 more times and got a 34 each time. And so,
really?
if it weren't for him, I probably would have taken it again to try and get a 36. But
it's like, why
I just
sit
didn't.
through all that?
Yeah,
I didn't want to.
What if I get a worse? Yeah, what if you get a worse score? So I'm like, I'll just take it. So yeah, I'm definitely. I don't know if depends how you define school person, but I do not love school, and Michaela has never been a school person.
Never.
And you'll never need to be, because now you're done.
I know. It's such a relief. I also just wish, like, in high school, though, like, everybody learns different. And one thing I hate about school is, like, they think that there's only one way to teach. I don't know. I know it's hard because you're having 50 people in a classroom. So it's hard to, like, focus on each person. But, like, I wish for, like, everybody that's on disabilities could just, like, have their own teacher and teach them. I don't know, be able to like work with you and help you. Because then I think if I actually had the right teaching, I would be able to do it, because I just learn very different. But other than that, school is great. You'll survive. You'll get through it. It will be worth it no matter what you do. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to follow us. And I hope that today was a fun episode for you guys, especially if you're deciding on whether going to college or not. I know it can be a big decision, but if you have any questions, please let us know. We'd love to help you or guide you in a better direction. But anyway.
And we'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.